I'm Jeremy. Today's day 336. Day 336 of reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Let's get started. We are currently on page 701. Madame Pomfrey, let's go. Madame Pomfrey, who had bustled off to her office, returned holding a small bottle of some purple potion and a goblet. You'll need to drink all of this, Harry, she said. It's a potion for dreamless sleep. Harry took the goblet and drank a few mouthfuls. He felt himself becoming drowsy at once. Everything around him became hazy. The lamps around the hospital wing seemed to be winking at him in a friendly way through the screen around his bed. His body felt as though it was sinking deeper into the warmth of the feather mattress. Before he could finish the potion, before he could say any other word, his exhaustion had carried him off to sleep. Harry woke up, so warm, so very sleepy, that he didn't open his eyes, wanting to drop off again. The room was dimly lit. He was sure it was nighttime and had a feeling that he couldn't have been asleep very long. Then he heard whispering around him. They'll wake him up. They'll wake him if they don't shut up. What are they shouting about? Nothing else can have happened, can it? Harry opened his eyes blearily. Someone had removed his glasses. He could see the fuzzy outlines of Mrs. Weasley and Bill close by. Mrs. Weasley was on her feet. That's Fudge's voice, she whispered, and that's Minerva McGonagall's, isn't it? But what are they arguing about? Now Harry could hear them too, people shouting and running toward the hospital wing. Regrettable, but all the same, Minerva, Cornelius Fudge was saying loudly. You should have never have brought it inside the castle, yelled Professor McGonagall. When Dumbledore finds out you... Harry heard the hospital doors burst open. Unnoticed by any of the people around his bed, all of whom were staring at the door as Bill pulled back the screens, Harry sat up and put his glasses back on. Fudge came striding up the ward. Professor McGonagall and Snape were at his heels. Where's Dumbledore? Fudge demanded of Mrs. Weasley. He's not here, said Mrs. Weasley angrily. This is a hospital wing. Minister, don't you think you'd do better to... But the door opened, and Dumbledore came sweeping up the ward. What has happened? Said Dumbledore sharply, looking from Fudge to Professor McGonagall. Why are you disturbing these people, Minerva? I'm surprised at you. I asked you to stand guard over Barty Crouch. There is no need to stand guard over him anymore, Dumbledore, she shrieked. The minister has seen to that. Harry had never seen Professor McGonagall lose control like this. There were angry blotches of color in her cheeks, and her hands were balled into fists. She was trembling with fury. When we told Mr. Fudge that we had caught the Death Eater responsible for tonight's events, said Snape in a low voice, he seemed to feel his personal safety was in question. He insisted on summoning a Dementor to accompany him into the castle. He brought it out to the office where Barty Crouch... I told him you would not agree, Dumbledore, Professor McGonagall fumed. I told you would never allow Dementors to set foot inside the castle. But, my dear woman, roared Fudge, who likewise looked angrier than Harry had ever seen him. As Minister of Magic, it is my decision whether I wish to bring protection with me when interviewing a possible dangerous... But Professor McGonagall's voice drowned Fudge's. The moment that thing entered the room, she screamed, pointing at Fudge, trembling all over. It swooped down on Crouch, and Harry felt a chill in his stomach as Professor McGonagall struggled to find words to describe what had happened. He did not need her to finish her sentence. He knew what the Dementor must have done. It had administered its fatal kiss to Barty Crouch, and had sucked his soul out through his mouth. He was worse than dead. By all accounts, he is no loss, blustered Fudge. It seems he has been responsible for several deaths. But he cannot give testimony. Cornelius, said Dumbledore. He was staring hard at Fudge, as though seeing him plainly for the first time. He cannot give evidence about why he killed those people. Why he killed them? Well, that's no mystery, is it? blushed Fudge. "He was raving lunatic. From what Minerva and Severus have told me, he seemed to have thought he was doing it all on you-know-whose instruction." "Lord Voldemort was giving him instructions," Cornelius, Dumbledore said. "Those people's deaths were mere byproducts of a plan to restore Voldemort to full strength again. The plan succeeded. Voldemort has been restored to his body." Fudge looked as though someone had just swung a heavy weight into his face. Dazed and blinking, he stared back at Dumbledore as if he couldn't quite believe what he had just heard. He began to stutter, still goggling at Dumbledore. "You know who? Return? Preposterous! Come now, Dumbledore. As Minerva and Severus have doubtless told you," said Dumbledore, "we heard Barty Crouch confess, under the influence of Veritaserum. He told us how he was smuggled out of Azkaban, and how Voldemort, learning of his continued existence from Bertha Jorkins, went to free him from his father and used him to capture Harry. The plan worked, I tell you. Crouch has helped Voldemort to return." "See here, Dumbledore," said Fudge, and Harry was astonished to see a slight smile dawning on his face. You can't seriously believe that. You know who? Back? Come now, certainly. Crouch may have believed himself to be acting upon you-know-whose orders, but to take the word of a lunatic like that, Dumbledore. When Harry touched the Triwizard Cup tonight, he was transported straight to Voldemort," said Dumbledore steadily. "He witnessed Lord Voldemort's rebirth. I will explain it all to you if you will step up to my office." Dumbledore glanced around at Harry and saw that he was awake, but shook his head and said, "I'm afraid I cannot permit you to question Harry tonight." Fudge's curious smile lingered. He too glanced at Harry, then looked back at Dumbledore and said, "You are, prepared to take Harry's word on this, are you, Dumbledore?" There was a moment's silence, which was broken by Cyrus growling. His hackles were raised, and he was baring his teeth at Fudge. "Certainly I believe Harry," said Dumbledore. His eyes were blazing now. "I heard Crouch's confession, and I heard Harry's account of what had happened after he touched the Triwizard Cup. The two stories make sense. They explain everything that has happened since Bertha Jorkins disappeared last summer." Fudge still had that strange smile on his face. Once again, he glanced at Harry before answering. "You are prepared to believe that Lord Voldemort has returned on the word of a lunatic murderer and a boy who..." Well, Fudge shot Harry another look, and Harry suddenly understood. "You've been reading Rita Skeeter, Mr. Fudge," he said quietly. Ron, Hermione, Mrs. Weasley, and Bill all jumped. None of them had realized that Harry was awake. Fudge reddened slightly, but a defiant, obstinate look came over his face. And if I have," he said, looking at Dumbledore, "if I have discovered that you've been keeping certain facts about the boy very quiet, a parcel mouth, and having funny terms all over the place, I assure you that you are referring to the pains Harry has been experiencing in his scar," said Dumbledore coolly. "And he has been having these pains, then?" said Fudge quickly. "Headaches, nightmares, possibly hallucinations?" "Listen to me, Cornelius," said Dumbledore, taking a step toward Fudge, and once again he seemed to radiate that indefinable... Thank you, everyone. That's all for today. Bye. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to read page 706. Bookmark, close. Peace out.